Alright, here is the second piece of property we have that goes with the ranch. We call it the desert ranch because we're kind of in the high desert, but it's actually more a grassland steppe. This pasture has been grazed 3 times, but since they had the field that went with it, which we had a dryland grass mix put in there, they left kind of the bunch grasses alone. If you can see, a lot of them have thin, like needly stems. What would you call that? They're not leaves, stems, I guess. They don't like them as much. So this pasture is looking decent, but very dry. Usually it looks like this coming into the middle of July, and it started changing and drying out in April this year. There's been some does down here having their babies back in there. I don't see them right now, but we have a whole bunch of deer having their babies in here, which is fun to watch. There's at least one set of twins. Since I can't really turn this off, I guess you get to look. This whole area is basically this kind of pasture, except this is a wet part. And it is not, this isn't a natural creek, this is from irrigation runoff. Last year they watered their fields a little bit differently, and we barely had any runoff. So this year, luckily, we're getting quite a bit. But we thought it would be maybe some more natural water when we cut the junipers down, but that did not happen here, at least. Above our place, there's still thousands and thousands of junipers, and that's public and private land. There's not enough money for the government to cut those junipers and take care of it, so I don't know if that will ever change. Okay, so this is weeds, but we're coming up on the dryland pasture, and on the edge we have a lot of weeds here because you plant this dryland grass, you have to plant it a little bit farther apart, and so in the bare spots, weeds came up. I don't know how good you can see. My husband's out there. We're trying to flush this pivot out. We finally got it in the air. It was supposed to be up last year till that big storm hit us. But we finally got it in the air, and it had some gunk in there that he's trying to get out. And as soon as we get it flushed, they're gonna come and finish hooking up the wiring, thank goodness. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see, there's kind of a green tint. Maybe a normal person that doesn't live in the high desert can't see that, but to us there's a green tint. It was very brown and dry, more like this, so maybe you can see. Then we got a few rain showers come through, and it's greening up. Anywhere that we've had irrigation water, even if it was just for 5 minutes, it's turned dark green. So that's what we're hoping, is to get this up and just go over it at least once and then be done. We're planning on putting the cows on this when we bring them back off the mountain ranch. It should work pretty well. Last year though, this field stayed green with no water. It has not had water on it for 3 years. So when we get this irrigation up, this will be the first water. But it hasn't had water for 3 years, and it stayed green probably into August last year. So you can see how dry it is. The stuff that's really dry right here, that is cheatgrass. That's the annual grass that is green during the winter. It's a cool season annual. and it's what takes over everything. So one thing we learned this year, we planted more dry land. We no-till drilled it into a pasture up at the top of this, and hardly anything came up, and then what did come up dried up and died. But a lot of it is because that annual soaks up all of the moisture in the beginning of the season, and so other things can't get established. And this is all green from irrigation water. There's nothing natural down here. Oh, someone left a diaper in the road. Gross. Everything is just brown and dead. That's because it's all the annual grass. If you can see some of this, that yellow stuff is buckwheat. Some of these areas there is some bunch grass that's right here in the center. That's a little bit of green, but everything went to seed. As soon as it gets stressed out, it goes to seed. So we never use this in the summer anyway because it always looks like this. When we first got it though, it was completely bare dirt because they grazed it to the ground for years and years and years. And then the junipers were taking over, and that was shading things out too. So it is looking better. It's just disappointing that it's already so dry this year. When we got the cows off, we still had quite a bit of grass, but it just dried up. I know most people are thinking, wow, there's nothing out there, but it does look better since we've had it. This part where it's just dry, where the grass burned up, sometimes that will burn up completely and turn back to soil, or it's just dirt, and then it bakes the dirt. So we're slowly trying to fix all that. It just takes time and money. These trees that are cut down like that, those blew over in the storm. Basically the whole place pretty much looks like that. Here's some more places of bunch grass. If we could get this bunch grass going, or different dryline grasses going, I mean, we could have green and a lot of grass for a long time. It's just that getting it seeded and having the annual grass not take up all the moisture before it can get established is the problem. And the way that we found that works the best is actually burning it off and then planting it into the burn, which we can't do that. So at least in these years where it's so hot and dry. Now some of this bunch grass you can see here, this stuff was, it's on the side of the road, and the people that were leasing this out for years, they never grazed that off. So that's why the grass is so much taller right there, because that's probably, well, it's really old bunch grass. It's at least 5 years. So if you guys can imagine, most of the West looks like this where we are, and it would be really easy for just one little spark to light it all up. And up here, we know that we don't have anything up here that's gonna get hurt. But at the top of this place, there are houses and more dried junipers. So if this ever catches on fire, there's some pretty wildflowers. If this ever catches on fire, those people are gonna be in big trouble because it's just gonna blow right up the hill into those juniper trees. And they don't really have good fire breaks around their houses. It's just houses and the junipers because they like the shade. But we are doing our part. Basically, that's what we got. Here's on this side of the road where we've been really, I don't know if you can see how green it is. We really have been trying over here to keep things nice. I don't know if you can see it, but oh look. Okay, so let me turn the truck off. If you don't think fireworks, on this hillside in the middle, right in this area, right in the middle of the screen, is where we had a burn pile of this winter. And can you guys see all the green grass coming up? And that's bunch grass, that's native bunch grass, the kind that you want, all in that burn pile. And it just seeded itself there. There's some yarrow there too, that white flower. But it seeded itself there. We didn't put seeds there. But since we had the cheatgrass burned off, which is just all the yellow on here, since we were able to burn that off, the native grass got established. Even on this pile right here, right in the center, see that grass? So that's what needs to happen to get rid of this cheatgrass and get something else growing. Right here was another burn pile. You can see all the grass heads. So I don't know what the answer is. You can see that that's the grass that we want. That's the native grass. That's the grass that stays green, doesn't cause huge fires. You know, maybe in the fall it could, but they don't want people to burn. So that, you know, puts the carbon out into the air. So they're against that, but then it just leaves us stuck with this cheatgrass that's all dried up right here, because it starts growing as soon as, well, I would say sometimes in January, December it starts growing, and then any kind of moisture, it takes everything, because it just stays on the surface. So if there's seeds of the bunchgrass, then the seeds are on the surface, and then they can't get any of the water because the cheatgrass just takes it all. But that's proof of what fires can do for us. So I don't have the answers, but we are slowly trying to turn this place around and hopefully get it back to native and dryland grasses and a healthier environment for everybody.